France, the land of history, art, gastronomy, and fashion. I feel like the world has mixed opinions about France. There are foreigners who absolutely love France and are totally obsessed with the culture, but you also have a big portion of the world who are a little bit less enthusiastic about France and French people. In my case, it was the former. I wanted to move to France ever since I first visited Paris in 2011, and 9 years later, I finally did it. I moved to Paris in 2019, and that's when our little adventure began. So we are 5 years later now, and you have to be asking me the question, was it worth it? Do I regret moving here? Do I like living here? Am I still going to live here in 5 years? Am I gonna leave the country one day? And this is what we're going to be talking about today. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So I just want to start with giving you a little bit of insight on why I moved to France, what I'm doing here, why the hell did I move here, and all of those things. So as many of you guys already know, I originally moved to France in 2019 to start my university studies at one of the Sorbonne universities. I studied information communication. There was a 3-year-long bachelor program. So after having completed my bachelor degree in 2022, I believe, I went on to do another bachelor degree. So I did a double bachelor degree. My second bachelor degree was in e-marketing and e-commerce, and I did it at a business school. So after having completed 2 of my degrees, I started working here. I already worked in France, in Paris, a little bit. I was working as an apprenticee for 1 year at a company while I was doing my studies. So basically my company was paying for my business school tuition. So that's the background of my university studies in France. And now I'm going to talk about my experience studying in France. So I'm going to start with studying at Sorbonne. To be honest, I don't think that I can give you an honest experience of studying at a university in France, because my university experience, the first 3 years, was tainted by the pandemic. The pandemic happened literally in my second semester of my first year of university in France. So it was a really hard time for me. Academically, I did okay, but it was really hard to adjust to online classes. I also went back to my home country for a little bit because I just couldn't cope with not seeing anybody for months and months, because I also don't have any family in France. So I honestly don't think that I can give you an honest experience of my university experience at a public university in France, because it was really defined by the pandemic and all of the limitations that all of us had to face. I feel like it was really different than what you would have today if you were to study in France. My experience was not the best, but it's not France's fault. It's nobody's fault. Now, my experience at business school was really, really different. I was studying at a business school from 2022 until 2023. I was working as an apprenticee at the same time, which meant that my company was paying for my tuition for my business school. So I was basically studying and working at the same time pretty much for free. And I honestly really recommend everybody, if you wanna study in France, to study and work as an apprenticee. I feel like this is the best way to really get to know the profession you want to do, to gain experience, and also afford your education. I feel like there are universities in France that are really hyped up, especially by foreigners who don't really know how the French education system works. But the reality of the situation is that when you study at a university, you get a lot of theory, but you don't get a lot of experience. Like, I was studying at Sorbonne for 3 years, and unless I did a 6-month internship, I wouldn't have any experience working. I don't really recommend studying at a university in France. I feel like studying as a business school, as an apprenticee, and working at a company at the same time is probably the best, even for foreigners, because you get work experience right away, you integrate into the work culture right away, you earn money. Like, you just learn so much more working than studying 3-5 years and doing all the theory. Another thing is master degree. I feel like in France, a master degree is kind of important. A lot of French people, I feel like, do a master degree here, which is really weird for me, because I feel like in other countries, even in Europe, master degree is not that important. But I feel like in France, a lot of students do a master degree. And I feel like even when you're looking for a job, if you have a master degree, it's always a bit more appealing to recruiters than if you just have a bachelor degree. Now, as for me, I didn't do a master's degree. I still managed to find a job with a pretty good salary, even without a master's degree. So I would say that if you don't want to do a master's degree in France, but you still want to find a job afterwards, I think one thing that you can do is just to have a lot of different professional experiences. As for me, I always got hired to work in France at companies because I have a YouTube channel. Also, I studied marketing, but like the only reason why I got hired with only a bachelor's degree is because I had a YouTube channel, I had my social medias, and I had all of this like digital content marketing business already up and running. For my profession, it is really appealing to recruiters because not a lot of students or fresh graduates have that. So I would say that if you don't want to do a master's degree in France, at least work a lot of different things, because I feel like that's also really valuable. And now let's move on to learning French and integrating into French society. Do you need to learn French if you want to move to France? Long story short, no, but it's highly recommended. I feel like if you live in a big city like Paris, you can get away with not being able to speak French. But if you move to a smaller city, chances are if you don't speak French, you're gonna have a harder time like getting around, finding a job, going to university, making friends. So I would say it's not obligatory, but it's like I would recommend it to like 99.9%. Otherwise, you're really gonna have a hard time. So I personally learned French back in my home country, and then I didn't really use French for a couple of years, and then I decided that I wanted to go to France and study, so then I started to learn French again. And the way that I started learning French again by myself was watching TV series in French and going to a French private teacher. And I do genuinely believe that one of the best ways that you can learn a language, and especially learn French, is through TV series. And talking about TV series, I wanted to tell you guys about my newest favorite platform that I'm using at the moment to perfect my rusty French, which is Lingopie. Lingopie is an innovative language learning platform that combines entertainment and education. Lingopie allows users to learn a new language by watching authentic movies and series directly from the culture of their target language. Imagine watching Netflix in your target language, but instead of only having subtitles available, you can also click on words in the subtitles to get instant translations, review the words through personalized flashcards, test your understanding with interactive quizzes, and practice your pronunciation by repeating phrases and getting instant feedback. So using Lingopie, you can currently learn 9 different languages, and they have more than 3,000 shows and movies at your disposal to learn your target language. One thing I really love about Lingopie is that it's super intuitive, and it's also not distracting. Like, you're watching a TV series and then you see a word or a phrase that you don't understand, and you can just click on it right away and it explains, and it really answers to all of the questions that you can ask yourself while you're learning a new language. So if you want to learn a new language in a fun, easy, and effortless way, I recommend using Lingopie, and they're also currently offering a 7-day free trial and 55% off of their annual plan. So if you need a little bit of boost, if you need a little bit of motivation to get started, check out the link in my description box. Working in France, finding a job, and what it's like to really work in France. The question that everybody asks me all the time: how did I find a job in France? Well, girly, I was looking, I was searching. It is not easy, let's just say that. I think it really depends on the city that you're looking. I feel like in Paris, where I personally live, the market is really saturated. Like, there are a lot of people living in Paris, studying in Paris, new graduates, people with experience who want to find a job, and it's not easy. So how I found a job in France and how long did it take me? Okay, so my apprenticeship that I was doing in 2022, I think it took me like, honestly, like 3 weeks or even like 2. My apprenticeship, I feel like I found in a really short time, but I was really stressed to find one. And also it's an apprenticeship, so it's not like a full-time job. My full-time job that I'm working at the moment, I found for like 6 months. I was looking every day. Like, I was checking the websites, I was sending applications, but I wasn't that desperate and stressed out. And then in 2024, February, I got really stressed out and I was like, okay, I have to find a job. It took me 2 months of extreme, intense job searching to get a job and to find a job. But before that, I was looking for like 6 months, like every day. I just wasn't very stressed about it. Yeah, it took me, I would say in total 8 months, but like 2 months of intense search. Websites that I recommend to find a job in France is Welcome to the Jungle. That's where I found my current job and also my apprenticeship. But there is also other websites like Indeed. There is also LinkedIn. Now, let's talk about what it's like to work in France. My favorite thing about working in France is definitely the how many holidays we have. I'm sorry, I'm a human being. I need holidays. I need not to work. I love not working. In France, not only we get a lot of paid vacations, but there is also like public holidays, especially in May. I think in May there are like 4 days where you just don't work because it's a public holiday, another public holiday. So I feel like in France, not only you get 5 weeks of paid leave, but you also get a lot of public holidays. So in terms of holidays and work-life balance, I would say France is pretty good. In terms of salary, well, it's not the best in terms of salary.
Okay, so I feel like what I was saying in this part of the video wasn't very clear. So I just wanted to clarify things. So what I meant, what I said that France in terms of salary is not the best, I was talking about mainly compared to like Western European countries that are like neighboring us, and also like the US. Now, if you look at this list that I found on CEO World magazine, France is standing at 19th place on the list of the countries with the highest and lowest average salaries in 2024. So out of almost 200 countries, 19th place is obviously not the worst, but compared to like very close neighboring countries and like the US, where a lot of you guys are from, France is obviously not the best. So that's kind of what I meant. It's not the worst. Obviously, French salary is very good. And I feel like this good salary with all of the work and the employment benefits that we get, I feel like that makes working in France really advantageous, because not only you can earn well, but you also have a lot of work-life balance and vacations and paid leave and like rights, work rights, which a lot of countries don't have. So that's kind of what I wanted to say in this part of the video. Sorry that I didn't explain it better. Thank you for your attention, and now let's get back to the video.
Conclusion, working in France, I think it's quite good if you manage to find the job. I feel like the hardest part of working in France is like getting a job, because once you get the job, it's quite easy. Like, it's not the worst country to work in, but I feel like the getting a job is just so extremely hard and it takes so long. So next topic is dating in France and social life. Is it hard to be friends with French people? How do you date? How do people date? How you find a boyfriend? How you find a French boyfriend? All of those things. Is it hard to make friends in France? For my experience, no. I'm an introvert, but I can make friends. I feel like I can be a social butterfly when I have to. Is it easy to make friends with French people? For my experience, not really. I feel like a lot of French people, and I think it's especially true for Parisians, already have their own friend circle from work, from high school. So it's really hard to get into their circle, I would say. I think the best place to find friends is like school and work. Like, those are kind of natural situations where you can make friends with French people. If school and work doesn't work for you to find friends, you still have the internet, which is where I found most of my friends. Join Facebook groups and reach out to people on Instagram. Obviously, be careful. Don't talk to weird people. Don't meet up with people in private. Always meet up with people in public, because you never know. Making friends in France really depends on your own personality. If you are not a very outgoing person, then I think it's gonna be a bit more hard. But if you don't mind messaging people and initiating and going up to people and asking them to hang out, then I think it's gonna be just as easy as in any other country, to be honest. And now let's talk about dating. I feel like I'm going to make a separate video on dating in France, so that's going to come up sometime, so stay tuned for that. I honestly didn't date a whole lot in France because I moved here and then the pandemic happened, so I didn't have a lot of time to do that. Also, I was in university, so again, I didn't have a lot of time to do that. But when I finally had the free time to date, I did it. Like, there is no tomorrow. Just kidding. So what I see very often is that most French people I live in Paris, bear that in mind, use dating websites to date. And I don't know if it's just our generation, what I see around me, because they are the same age as me, but I feel like it's like in any other countries, like dating websites are becoming more and more popular here. A lot of people, I feel like, find their partner that I know through dating websites like Tinder, Bumble, Hinge was the other one. There's another one. But those are really popular here, even among French people. Pretty much all of the friends that I have found their like significant other through dating websites. So I feel like France is not really special in that way. Obviously, again, be careful whenever you talk to people online. Be careful. There are a lot of weirdos, but there are also good people that you can meet. Honestly, if you're a foreigner, want to date French people, either go out a lot to like cafes or like clubs. I don't know what people do who go out. I don't go out. Or just like use dating websites. A lot of you guys know that I also met my now French boyfriend through a dating website. So it clearly can work. Okay, so next part is how France changed me. Do I feel at home now? Do I feel integrated in the culture? Am I gonna stay here? Am I gonna leave? Am I gonna get my French citizenship? Etc. Okay, so long story short, do I feel at home in France? More or less, I would say. It's really hard for me to feel home anywhere because I didn't really have a home since I was like 18. Like I left home at 18 and then I went back to my home country like sometimes for a couple of months, but I lived abroad and then I moved to France and it has been my home for the last 5 years. Still, since I'm not French, I'm still a bit like, I don't get all the references people are talking about. I obviously don't have a same childhood as a French person would, but I also feel like France is such a diverse, culturally diverse place that a lot of people, even who grew up here, didn't get like the French culture from their parents because their parents are immigrants or I don't know, whatever. Do I feel at home in France? Honestly, I feel more home, I think, than when I'm back in my home country. Am I going to get my French citizenship this year or any year? Oh, probably yes. I really want to get my French citizenship. I've been in France for long enough now to apply. I've been here for 5 years and I have a job here and I have 2 French diplomas. So I match all the criteria to apply. I just need to do my dossier and it's a long process, but I think I'm going to apply this year. And now for the final questions. Was moving to France worth it? Did I regret moving here? And am I gonna stay here? Am I gonna move away? Will I leave France? Honestly, probably not. I feel like I lived in enough countries to know that I like France, and I honestly cannot point at a better country for me to live in, like especially in Europe. In Europe, I don't think I could live anywhere else. I honestly think that France for me is the best country in Europe. And that's my personal opinion. You can have your own opinion too, but it's my channel. I think honestly the biggest hardships in France that I experienced is just this like cultural difference, which I don't have a ton of because I'm still European. Like I don't like, our culture is not like crazy different with my home country, but it's still different. Obviously my mother language is not French. I don't always get the references. I don't always get what people are talking about. I still feel like a foreigner, to be honest, most of the time, but I still like living here. Should you move to France? It's up to you. Watch all of my other videos, but will I ever leave France? Probably not. Thank you so much for watching. Huge shout out to Lingopie again for sponsoring this video. If you want to learn a new language in a fun way, make sure to check out the link in the description box. And if you want to learn more about how I got accepted to Sorbonne, make sure to watch this video next.